We have some interesting news about the head of the DEA. The acting head of the Drug Enforcement Agency is stepping down next week. Chuck Rosenberg has been in the position since 2015, and according to the New York Times, being at odds with President Trump may be a reason why. The acting head of the DEA will resign at the end of the week, according to law enforcement officials who said he had become convinced that President Trump had little respect for the law. The official, Chuck Rosenberg, who twice served as chief of staff to the former FBI director James B. Comey and remains a close confidant, had grown disillusioned with Mr. Trump. You may remember that back in July, the president spoke to police officers and said the following, quote, "When you see these thugs thrown in the back of a paddy wagon, you just see them thrown in, rough. I said, please, don't be too nice. Like when you guys put somebody in the car and you're protecting their head, you know? The way you put their hand over, like, don't hit their head. And they've just killed somebody. Don't hit their head. I said, you can take the hand away, okay?" Following that, I like how I kept the Trump voice going. Following that, Rosenberg sent out an email to staff obtained by the Times criticizing those remarks. The head of the Drug Enforcement Administration sent in an email to staff members over the weekend that President Trump had condoned police misconduct in remarking to officers in Long Island that they need not protect suspects' heads when loading them into police vehicles. Acting DEA Administrator Chuck Rosenberg wrote that he felt obligated to respond to the president's comments because we have an obligation to speak out when something is wrong. He cited the agency's core values, among them integrity, accountability, and respect and compassion. Wow. This is how we conduct ourselves. This is how we treat those whom we encounter in our work. Victims, witnesses, subjects, and defendants. This is who we are, Rosenberg wrote. Okay, so on the one hand, the comments about Trump are totally correct because he doesn't give a fuck about law. This is a guy who ran on a law and order platform, law and order, while simultaneously saying we should bring back torture and we shouldn't just waterboard, we should do a lot worse than waterboarding. So let me be clear about something. You don't get to do that. You don't get to say, I believe in law and order, but, oh yeah, we have to take out their families. When he made the argument that the U.S. should kill not just terrorists, the family members of terrorists. You don't get to do that. You don't get to do that. I believe in law and order, but now let me give you all the ways in which I want to violate law and order. Because what he really means is law and order for other people, not law and order for me and the people who I deem on my side. And who's on his side? Police officers, U.S. military. So we get to commit war crimes, we get to violate human rights and civil liberties, and it doesn't count because we're the good guys. That's what he means when he says law and order. So when he makes a comment like that, why are you being so gentle with these guys? You just committed a crime. You could put him in the paddy wagon. You don't. Paddy wagon's a funny word, by the way. You don't have to protect his head. You just throw him in there. That's a wink and a nod. And look, if you happen to be a little brutal in arrests or whatever, am I gonna be mad at you? I'm not gonna be mad at you. In Trump's mind, the world's black and white. Good guys, bad guys. Good guys, bad guys. It's not like there's ever anybody who's innocent who got arrested, or somebody who committed a crime that shouldn't really be a crime, like a drug crime. They're criminals. They're criminals, so you can treat them however you want to treat them, and they have it coming. You're the good guy. So it's a very Alonzo from Training Day kind of mentality. That's what this is. So the head of the DEA is 100% right about that, in how Trump doesn't respect the law. He doesn't. That's clear. But on the other hand, you're the head of the DEA. The DEA, I would argue, is the most lawless agency in the country, perhaps along with ICE. Because the DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency, so they are directly responsible for locking people up for selling drugs, for doing drugs. I mean, I would argue if somebody's smoking marijuana, if somebody's doing drugs, it's a medical issue. It's not a criminal issue. This isn't somebody who should be, you lock in a cage and throw away the key. This is somebody who, if they're addicted, they need help. And if they're not addicted and they're just enjoying a substance, they need nothing. They need a couch and a TV because they ain't bothering anybody, and that's not really a crime. So the head of the DEA, for him to say the DEA's core values are integrity, accountability, respect, and compassion. No, bitch. Not even close. I would fucking abolish the DEA. The FDA, which actually regulates drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, and says, let's make sure these are safe. That's great. And if the DEA wants to take over the role of regulating drugs to make sure they're safe for consumption, that's fine. But the Drug Enforcement Agency, enforcing drug crimes all across this country, crimes which shouldn't even be crimes, crimes which have been described as the new Jim Crow, because first we had slavery, then we had segregation, then we had a drug war which disproportionately targets minorities and locks them up. To enforce that system, to be at the top of that system, means you don't have fucking principles and values. You're enforcing laws that shouldn't even be laws. So spare me with the holier than thou shit of, oh, Trump is so bad. Why can't I follow the law and lock nonviolent drug offenders up in peace? Now, let me be clear. Anybody who the DEA is arresting that, you know, is whatever, involved in crimes beyond nonviolent drug offenses, that I get. And of course, those people should be locked up. If they're committing violent assaults or murder or whatever, of course you should be locked up in that situation. But understand that the conditions that give rise to those people, it's the fact that the drugs are illegal in the first place. Why do you think during Prohibition, crime spiked and the mafia got incredibly powerful? Because there was Prohibition. You banned alcohol, so it went on the black market, and then there was violence associated with it, and then criminal gangs got more powerful. Same thing with the drug war. Because the drugs are illegal, it gets pushed underground. You have criminal gangs that arise as a result of it, and you have crimes that happen. So they really are the core of the problem, because they're enforcing these laws which shouldn't be laws, which lead to bigger problems. So spare me your nonsense about integrity, accountability, respect, and compassion. You guys are authoritarian thugs who are ruining lives for no good reason. So yes, I despise Donald Trump and his lawlessness. I also despise the DEA head and his lawlessness.